We don't need no stinking scripts or organization. Everyone, this is Andrew Hall. With me, of course, is Big Satan, Jack Matirko, and Jonathan Burrello. Jonathan, you've been on the show so many times. You've been on the channel so many times. I feel exceptionally lazy about telling people how awesome you are.
Don't worry about it.
For people who aren't acquainted with you and your work, you want to just give them a synopsis.
I'm going to give a worse synopsis for myself. This is a great show. Great way to start the show. I draw cartoons and I post them online, and sometimes people like them, and sometimes I put those cartoons into books, and that's one of the things I'm working on right now.
Well, I'm going to have to level up this. I was really hoping for something more.
I can't talk myself up. I can't do it.
I was really hoping for.
I'm sorry. I had it's too late for me.
Too late. Okay. So Jonathan Burrello, stand-up comedian.
Yeah, still
stand-up comedian, cartoonist, atheist.
I mean, I don't know if I put that on my resume, but yeah.
But this is an atheist channel, right?
This is true. True.
Right. So incredibly intelligent person. Gifted, I would say, maybe, possibly.
Little quiz kid Donnie, whatever, from Magnolia, when I hear that he's a gifted child.
He was gifted, but only in the best of ways. And you did really well on your Kickstarter, brother. I have to tell you, I was hoping that you'd come on and I would help you with your Kickstarter, but
you can
tell us about the Kickstarter and tell us about the comic and what's going on.
So I was actually very surprised we made our goal in like less than 3 days. There were more. I had a very low goal, but that was like a number that I wanted to hit. But the thing is, like, I still want more backers because my goal was to have make an order for like 150 books. And right now I only have like about 100 backers. Mm-hmm. So if we could get another push, it would be well worth it for everyone involved because everyone would get a book. But I've been working on this comic strip for about 2 years. It's called Barb. It's about a cute little barbarian girl with a very large axe. And she just sort of wanders around the wastelands chopping people.
And there are hilarious skeletal warriors there too.
There are. There's a lot of recurring characters and themes that go throughout it, but it's mostly just like an escapist adventure. That's hopefully pretty funny. Like that was the goal. There is kind of an architecture of a story because their characters do continue, and there are characters that keep coming back that they keep having to fight. But it's all in good fun. It was sort of like a send up to like Conan the Barbarian or Xena Warrior Princess kind of thing, or Ray Harryhausen creatures and stuff. It was a big inspiration.
Yeah, hilarious stuff. And you've also done Blinky and Sal too.
Yeah, and I've been doing that since about 2013. That one was also on Pathos. That you can still get those books; those are all available. Unlike the Barb campaign, which is a one-time deal. If you order it, you get it. After that, there's going to be no more. I'll probably continue with the cartoon, but it's probably not going to be. I'm not going to reprint the book. I don't think, or I don't have plans to reprint the book at the moment.
Right. So, dude, all right. So it's been 4 minutes into this interview, and I haven't mentioned Bo Burnham's Inside.
Oh, go! You've exercised marvelous restraint.
Because I saw your post about what to watch.
Oh, yeah. That's my other thing. I'm a movie nerd.
You're a movie nerd. And I think it was, my God.
Did you watched it then?
Oh, yeah. I watched it more than once, I have to tell you. And just in terms of production, about what he was able to accomplish.
I was very impressed. Just all by himself, basically. But that's kind of the beauty of it. We have the technology to do these things now, but it just takes a lot of work and a lot of tenacity. And I admire, it's very clear a lot of work went into it, and I hate saying it captures the
and just
zeitgeist.
some ridiculously creative stuff he was doing with like using his phone for lighting and stuff.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That was just phenomenal to watch.
Yeah, if it's really a testimony of a DIY kind of, not very expensive. I think the most expensive thing he had was probably his camera, which is, if you're going to spend money on anything, it would be your camera, right? But a lot of the gear is pretty cheap on Amazon.
So how come
where's your lock-in stand-up special, Andy?
Yeah, this is the question. How come we all haven't done that?
Well, that's it, right? You see something like that and you see, wow, what did I do during the lockup? It's all
you got a special. I watched every season of everything on Netflix.
I know I masturbated a lot, but I don't think I'm going to put that. Once again, I'm not going to put that on my resume, right? That'd be awkward.
That depends what you're applying for.
Oh, well, good point. That is a good point. And to what Jack was saying is, like, I did rewatch Breaking Bad, so
fantastic.
that was a high point. But the Bo Burnham special, it has inspired me to maybe level up a bit on my shitty skills here on YouTube.
You might have a chance if the Delta variant keeps doing what it's doing.
Oh man,
you might have to go through this shit all over again.
Now, where are you, John? You're right outside of Toronto? You're in Toronto?
Montreal. I'm in Montreal.
Right. And what's the situation there? Are you guys on lockdown or?
It's kind of loosened up. I mean, things aren't open up 100%, but for the most part, you can go to restaurants, you can go to shows. Like, I just started getting back out and doing a couple shows here and there, which has been nice, but they can't pack the audiences like they used to, because there's still a few restrictions in place, which is probably for the best. I don't even know if we should be as open as much as we are.
Yeah,
no one knows what's going on. It's kind of chaos still, and we're still just sort of feeling it day to day.
A lot of people who don't know, who just who just go to see a comedy show every once in a while, aren't aware of the physics of laughter and how important it is to cram people together. It isn't just for getting as many ticket sales as possible, though that helps, but laughter really is contagious.
Yeah, it really does help if you have even if you have a small audience, if they're sitting close together, you can get a good reaction from it. I found that it's very hard if there's like a room that's like too big and everyone is spread out, because then people get self-conscious, and even if they're having a good time, they'll smile, but they won't laugh as much as they would if they were like blended together.
That is the death of comedy right there.
Yeah,
the polite smile and the nod. I see.
Well, and the thing is, like, I've done shows like that. I'm sure you have too. And people come up and like, "Oh, I had such a fun time." I'm like, "Well, why didn't you laugh?" It's because the audience is not configured for it.
Well, I think when they put everybody close together like that, and then everybody's a little more anxious, and then there's when it breaks harder.
Yeah. I don't know what I've actually been enjoying getting back out, because I've been doing like mostly new stuff that I hadn't tried before, which was. I did it in a way to kind of psychologically protect myself, because I figured, well, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to sleep for a year and a half and come back doing the same old stuff.
Yeah.
And then, because what if I feel rusty and now jokes I know don't work anymore? Oh, then it's me. But if I'm doing all new stuff, I can blame it on that. But it's all been going pretty well. So I'm like, okay, all right. So I know what I'm doing. It's just like riding a unicycle. You're back on it.
I'm noticing this trend line of low expectations.
It's sort of a trend for me, I suppose.
It's an effective ego defense mechanism, I believe. I do the same thing.
Yeah, no, I probably should work on that. Thank you for calling me out.
I was at, this is a true story. I was in New York City years ago, and I was going to the Guggenheim, and this is before GP. This is how old I am. And I was walking. It was snowing. It was miserable. And I walk into the Guggenheim, and there's the big, the cylinder there, the big ramp that goes up. And there was no artwork on the walls at all. And yeah, right. And so this little girl started talking to me, and I'm like, I don't know why you're talking to me, little girl. And she goes, "What's progress?" And you want to talk about what my definition of progress was? Talk about a low bar. It's like it's really our escape from misery. That's what it is. And then we walk up and then we go up the ramp together, and I start giving examples of how things were much more miserable, and that's really what progress is how we can escape from like plagues, for an example, or wars or horrible living conditions. And then within maybe a minute or two, the next person, because this was the art, this was actually the exhibit.
She was not the tour guide, was she?
She was basically part of the exhibit.
All right.
And then the next person up was a little bit older than she was, so she was probably a middle schooler.
That's progress.
And that's we're going up the ramp, making progress, and then she recites word for word every horrible thing I had come out of my mouth hole. And all of a sudden, it's like, this is how I sound. Thank you very much. I'm going to put that in my meat brain and realize that I can come off a little harsh sometimes, just a little harsh.
So this is all the stuff like my therapist would tell me. It's like, just, would you tolerate it if another person was talking like this about themselves? And you'd be like, well, no.
But if they were funny,
sometimes.
If they were funny, maybe I would. Maybe it would be entertaining in some way. I don't know. Break us out of here, Jack. You're the most.
I don't know. We're going in. We're spiraling. We're spiraling.
We're spiraling.
It sounded like what you were describing as your definition for progress was dealing with whatever crisis is in the moment and just getting past it. It sounded about like what you were describing as progress.
So you're trying to say that my life is basically boiling down to putting out one fire after another?
Putting out one fire after another.
Fires that I probably made for myself?
Could be the fire that you set to solve the last problem.
Wow. I'm going to send a check in the mail. What's that?
It's like, I know an old woman who swallowed a fly kind of thing. Or what is it? It's the cane toad. Do you know about the cane toad in Australia? I think it's Australia.
I don't.
It's the one they brought it in to deal with the...
There was some sort of like, I want to say it was some sort of insect pest that was like destroying crops. So they figured, we'll just import all of these toads that will probably eat them. And the toads didn't do that. They went and did their own thing, and because they didn't like the environment that the bugs were in. So they went into the trees or something, and they decimated whatever was in there that was pollinating everything else. And then I think they were trying to bring in snakes to kill the cane toads because the cane toads were out of control. Double check that last part, but
I think that's accurate. I seem to remember there being like a brown snake or something that they wanted to bring in to deal with. And if you've ever seen video of the place, it's great. They're just frogs everywhere.
Yeah.
I only know
there's the island in Japan where they imported bunnies, and now there's just rabbits everywhere.
Which that's a little cuter.
That's a lot cuter, but.
No one's going to the island of frogs for fun. Like photo op over here. Look at all these slimy little amphibians. I mean, they are cute, but not in the same way. Not
bunny cute.
They're not bunny cute.
So, Jonathan, have you gotten the jab? Are you vaccinated? Fully vaccinated?
I am fully vaccinated. It wasn't bad. First shot. I mean, this is the conversation goes. Like, have you been vaccinated? Yes. Both shots? Yes. Which vaccination did you get? Like, I got this one. Ooh, I don't know if you should have gotten that one. I've heard some stuff. Like, I don't know. How were your side effects? My side effects were okay. Nothing really happened. The second one, I was a little achy. Felt like the day after a fever. I've had this conversation.
Yeah.
I think 100 times now.
Yeah, it is kind of like the coming out of the pandemic talking about the weather.
Yeah, basically. What about yourself? Vaccinated? Both of yous?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. All right. I don't know. I think for me, what this whole pandemic situation has done to me is sort of made me realize that, this can just happen again. We're going to have pandemics every couple of years, probably for the rest of forever. And it's all going to be chaos every single time. It's going to be horribly politicized in every angle you can look at it, and no one's going to know what's going on or what to do. And I don't know. I hope that's not the case, but like what this has taught me is that, well, we can do it once, probably do it again.
I really enjoyed everyone wearing masks all the time. I thought it was great not having to deal with that level of social interaction constantly. I thought it was good.
I did for strangers, but for myself and people in my like inner circle whose mouths I tolerate looking at, I wanted a little bit more, and also just like not being able to hang out with people. Yeah. Like that was the hardest part. Was like, okay, you can't have anyone come to your house, and you can't go anywhere. I don't know if you guys tried meeting people in the middle of winter, and you're just like wandering through the streets, and you can't go inside any building. You're just cold. Like, well, this is fun. I'm glad we hung out for 10 minutes. I'm going to go home where it's warm.
First of all, I live in Arizona, so
Jack,
it's actually lovely to walk around in the winter here.
Well, that's the only time you can walk around the winter. I mean, is in the winter.
It is rough here now. Yeah, that's another thing. It's opening up now, and it's 110 degrees outside, and just like, I'll stay inside anyway, thanks.
You know, Jonathan, I talked to a bunch of other comedians, and during the pandemic, a lot of them had trouble coping because a lot of the time they were able to deal with whatever issues they were dealing with by going up on stage under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
Did you find that, or with your peers, that they had difficulty just dealing with the fact that they couldn't go up? You know, they couldn't go up on stage. Yeah,
I think to a certain degree. Like I don't know. I think sure the COVID-19 is terrible and dangerous, but the lockdown I think took an emotional and a mental toll in a lot of people, and it broke a lot of people. It was kind of weird to see, and even seeing people go down like crazy conspiracy theory rabbit holes and then just start posting every day. And it's like, I thought you were like a little more savvy than this, but that was hard.
Did you have to reel anyone back? Oh, did you try to reel anyone back in?
I don't know. I mean, I reached out to a couple people just like, hey, how are you doing? You know, just checking in on you. You know, I've learned you can't really change anyone's mind, especially if you try to like show up and say, you're wrong. And let me tell you. So just letting people know that, hey, I'm worried about you, or I'm thinking about you. And, you know, I think that's enough. And you kind of just got to let it go and accept it, that everyone's on their own little path. Yeah. And, you know, that's really the most you can do, I think.
Yeah, what I didn't want to do is message people on Facebook with starting off with, you know, I've been seeing the crazy shit you've been posting. Are you okay? That would seem to be counterproductive. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think reaching out in general, whether someone's posting crazy stuff or not, like just reaching out during the pandemic. I mean, for me, it meant a lot. Like the family and friends who would occasionally like message me like, hey, how are you doing? Because I know this is crazy. We're all locked up, and we're all coping in very strange ways. And so, I mean, I didn't see it as a targeted thing of like, I'm going to convert this person to reality. It was more just like genuinely like, how are you? We're all kind of in this together. But then once they start sending me links, that's when things start to be like, okay, maybe this was a mistake.
What was your go-to weird coping mechanism? You said we all had weird ways of
moving out. So I had roommates up until up until like March. Then I moved out and I got this place, and it's so much better.
So
you've decided that social isolation. You decided to double down on social isolation during the pandemic.
Yes, but for strategic reasons. Like you have a lot more control in your own space. And the thing is, like, I loved my roommates a lot, but we were both going crazy together, and our forms of anxiety and existential depression were like, you know, the perfect yin yang, like snake sucking its own dick or whatever. And it was just not a good situation for us. So I decided like I'm just gonna move out. I'm gonna get my own place and my own space. And yeah, it's been great. It's so nice.
Well, that's great, dude. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key, right? Is to find people to be around that do not exacerbate your darkest qualities, right? Or your anxious qualities.
Yeah, but more than that, I think it's like the reinstitution of a semblance of agency. Because the thing that was taken away during the pandemic was, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, don't do this. Like all the things you love. Oh, you seeing your friends, you like going to restaurants, you like performing comedy, you like, I don't know, licking the poles in the subway. Like you can't do any of that.
Love it. Love doing
Do
that.
it anymore. You can't French the rats like at the bus stop. It's horrible. Like they had all these draconian rules. And so just being able to say like, I want to move out. I want to get a place and I'm going to decorate it and I'm going to do this and that. And this, I don't know, not being able to move, not being able to do a lot. This was kind of nice because it kind of like set a little bit more of a control.
Well, that's an interesting point because a good amount, from what I understand about depression, is that people who don't feel this kind of agency, this kind of control over their own lives can easily slip into depression. There's been a bunch of animal studies about that. And being able to control your environment definitely gives you agency. And it's nice inoculation against mental illness. Yeah.
I mean, if you make a decisive action, well, if you make an action, make it decisive. I mean, you'll suffer the consequences, whatever they are afterwards. Maybe it wasn't good, but you'll learn later. But I do think being able to make a call like that is very important. And also, go.
Yeah. Making the call before it's too late.
Yeah.
Before something crazy happens.
No, I thought it was good. It was the right move. It was the right time. And I did start seeing a therapist during the pandemic, which I was very reticent to for a very long time. But I'm glad I finally did in the end, because comedy was over. I needed an audience, so that was a good substitute. So I got her to laugh a couple times. I feel like that's
that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely been in therapy, and getting a non-laugher, that's hard.
I will say this though, the algorithms on social media are scary because Instagram recommended me her Instagram, and I was like, I don't want to know this person's a person. Like it needs to be separate. I need to not know too much about their life.
Yeah.
I don't, and it was so tempting because it was right there. I'm like, I could just click it and see stuff.
That is starting to get a little creepy in the way everything is all intermeshed like that. It's a matter of time. Find out you just find out things you don't need to know about some people. It's
I like to have a barrier. I'm like, look, you can't be a full person to me in that same way, which is maybe wrong, but I don't know for
what's terrifying for me is that people may like when I was dating. Yeah, I'm in a great relationship with my girlfriend. We've been dating for over 2 years, but part of that is because I think she didn't Google my name before we went out on our first date. If she did, she'd been like, "That's the guy. He does what?" Oh no, I feel pretty sure that when I was dating, I lost a couple of first dates because once they Googled my name, they're like, "No thanks."
Why? What were they finding?
The blog, the YouTube channel, the crazy things that come out of my mouth.
Oddly enough, see, I know another Andrew Hall who is a programmer in Cambridge.
Oh, really?
So you could just say it's a case of mistaken identity.
Ooh.
And
Jack, your lifesaver.
Start off a relationship with a lie.
Well, I think we all start off relationships with lies of omission to a certain point, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Like, there's definitely first date material that you bring out, and then there's third date material, and then,
Oh
stuff
yeah. Sure,
down,
sure, sure.
down the line. So I like to think of myself as not actively lying to people. Maybe that's just a rationalization. And I think,
I think there's more than enough people who have probably done a little Photoshop touch-up work on their Tinder pictures.
See, I've never been on Tinder. Old guy.
I tried.
Me neither.
I
Me
don't.
neither. I've never done that one either.
It's not enough to know about, and I through it every once in a while, but it doesn't make sense to me.
So when you started out doing therapy, was it all just Zoom therapy, pretty much, John?
I've only done Zoom therapy.
Yeah. Have you found it to be a good experience?
Yeah. Like it's the sort of thing where I'm not sure how much of it was talking to a person or how much of it was just the situation and other things that were going on. But I don't know. I felt like I've come out of a long tunnel somehow. And this is even before the pandemic was over. Like, because my main thing was I wanted to get through a lot of resentment that I was carrying from like religious days, Just, I don't know if that's also a common thing that you would push through or not, but
what's helped me, believe it or not, is connecting with my birth family. I'm adopted.
Oh wow!
And and literally 23andMe. That's how we connected, or they connected with me, and that has put shit in perspective for me. And it has actually made me a lot less angry. I know that's hard to believe. This is Andy less angry. This is me less angry.
I can seem angry.
Yeah, well,
now in this
right
moment,
now.
I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard for me because like I'm still even now like skeptical of the whole thing because I view it a little bit like a car mechanic where like I don't fully trust what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, but you need to keep me in a state of psychological dependency so I can keep paying you, which is an unhealthy way to enter it. But I mean, this is just sort of how my brain works, where I have a very hard time trusting it.
Next thing you know, he's asking you to remember the time the aliens touched your butt.
Right.
I don't know, because you got to understand this, like because you do stand up, so there is a certain level of not hypnosis, but like when you are sitting in a position of even as like a teacher, if you're sitting in sort of some position of like authority where like the dynamic is skewed in some way, you have a microphone, you have a podium, you have a title, you have pictures on the wall of you like shaking the hands of the dean of admissions or something. It does, I don't know what I was trying to say here, but I'm like it does sort of cast a spell, and we're all susceptible to that.
Yeah. No, and you're right about that. What I have found terrifyingly interesting is just being up on stage just a little bit higher than everyone else. Just a little, and it does seem to create this kind of, it primes people. It primes people in the audience a certain way.
Yeah. And I mean, this is I found that like a good comedy show, if it's run really well, it functions a lot the way church does. In that, like, you come in, there's an expectation, the lights are a certain way, there's like music playing, you're mingling for a little bit. It has like the same sort of beats.
Yeah.
The warm-up guy comes on. I guess like it's the call to worship or something, right. But it has like that same sort of like step-by-step thing, and it does sort of bring the audience in some kind of sort of collective state that they can kind of share.
That makes sense.
And if it's joy and laughter and fun, I think that's okay. I think if it's QAnon stuff, then maybe you're in the wrong crowd. Yeah. But
yeah, there's definitely catharsis, right? Because there's a release of pent-up emotions that you see in church services as well as comedy clubs. And to tell you the truth, I mean, any live artistic event should be kind of like give and take.
Yeah, like even going to see like a musical act, like it does cast like a spell on the audience because you're just sort of like you kind of forget everything else. You're just looking at like a talent and listening to the music that's coming out, and it is like a transcendental experience. You know Darren Brown, probably. He did. He's like I guess an illusionist, you would call him.
Mhm.
Illusions, Michael. Tricks would hoard us for money.
I don't know
But
if
he
it's-
does. He's like a
I don't know
British
if it's
guy.
illusions. He's really good at like breaking down how grifts work.
Yes.
And yeah, like the psychology behind fooling people, basically.
Yeah. But I think his background was like as a mentalist or some sort of thing. He did like magic, and then it sort of turned into, I'm going to do these extended programs that are going to break down how susceptible we are to suggestion. And to the point where he had one show, I forget what it was called. I think it might be called Miracle or something, but it's a show where he basically replicates the emotional beats and experience of like a charismatic evangelical church service to an audience full of randos. And he's not religious himself. He's saying, and he's telling them, I am going to do this.
Yeah.
And you're going to have an emotional experience. And he sets it up and you're like, yeah, whatever. But then you're watching it and you're like, holy shit, he nailed it. Like, and it really does bring the audience into this weird state together. It's incredible. And I find it very humbling and fascinating. But yeah, not unlike a live performance of any other kind, really.
Yeah. I imagine
the only real trick is that being able to, everyone except churches are able to go, this is just a show.
Yeah. It's like Penn and Teller saying, what we do is tricks. We are not wizards. And it's like, the game is this. We are trying to trick you.
What's great, I've seen Penn and Teller a couple of times, and one of their shows, and this must be one of the shticks that they do on a regular basis, is that there's only like 7 particular tricks that they can do, sleight of hand kind of tricks. And they'll show you the tricks beforehand and explain what they are, and then they do the magic trick, and you're saying, I think that's magic. Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, is the resentments towards religion, towards people, or towards institutions, or towards the concept of God itself?
I guess it just felt like breaking out of a mental prison. And I found it so fascinating because like it wasn't any physical pain or any physical like box that you're in, but I didn't fully respect or appreciate just how much an idea a person has in their head can create a huge barrier between them and other people. And so part of me was like resentful of the fact that I've been living my life in this sort of walled city, it felt like.
Yeah.
And then also like coming out of it and then trying to talk to people who are still in it, and they won't let you, or it doesn't go very well, or just because like my attitude is this, like if someone's religious, that's fine, as long as they're not like hurting themselves or others. Like I don't give a shit. Like, be religious, don't be religious. That's your business. But I have a hard time speaking with people whose like whole like thing is trying to convert you or change your mind or do something. And it's like, no, you can ask me questions. I'll ask you questions. I'd be very curious to know what you think and why and what you do. And like, and I don't judge that necessarily. I might judge the reasoning behind it, but like you come to the conclusions you come to. I don't know that that's something you can escape from. With my help, I think that's something you got to do on your own. If you do.
Yeah.
And yeah, just sort of resentment towards, I don't know, things that were said, things that I had thought, things that I had been taught, sort of a sense of years wasted. And like I did when I did finally leave, because I was like in my 20s and I felt like, oh, this is what being born again feels like. This is it, because I'm born again and I feel like a child that's lost like all these years where I could have been learning and developing. And I feel like it was sort of in like a place of sort of arrested development and trying to push through that. Fortunately, I was very lucky to have a lot of very good friends who were very supportive, and that was a huge help. But yeah, no, I think I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like I've put a lot of that aside. Like, and I'm not having the same fights with myself where I reenact arguments in the shower every morning.
Oh,
Like,
dude, yeah.
I am like happy, and it's weird now because I'm like, oh, I don't know how to be like an adjusted person because it's been a little while, you know. You're still talking to yourself in the shower, aren't you?
Maybe. Maybe I am. I'm trying to think.
I get what you're saying about it being like things start to feel normal and it feels like a trap. Like you kind of wait for that other shoe to drop because you're so used to,
Oh, because I'm just so used to like, I mean, my brain is hardwired to like, well, I think it's pretty obvious from this conversation to favor the negative. So that's also been like, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, oh, things are good. Yeah, now, but this roller coaster.
Where is it? And that becomes like a self-fulfilling thing, like because you're nervous and watching out for something, and then something happens and you jump on it. Yeah,
because like, all roller coasters go up and down, and sometimes a goose hits Fabio in the face. You never know where you're on, you know.
You know what and this is from talking to not just you, but with a bunch of other people, and in my own experiences about coming out of faith, is that there's this mourning, right? There's this kind of like sorrow about what you lost during the time that you feel, you know, and the stuff that you did, and and you know what I wrestle with, I guess, even to now, is dealing with that kind of mourning and loss, you know.
And I think also like depending on what denomination you grew up in, there's a lot of guilt and shame that is installed. But I don't know that that's unique to religion. I think like everyone is recovering from some sort of like trauma infused in the formative years. Like that's not something I think is special. That it is a unique flavor of it.
Yeah.
But like,
everyone's childhood trauma is different.
Yes, we're all beautiful, horrible sideshows trying to deprogram ourselves as adults, like in different stages. No, I think the people who freak me out the most are the ones who have never thought about it. Never like I think there are some people. It seems to me, unless they're just putting on a good act, never question any of the things that were presented to them, and never question the programming.
Yeah.
They just keep following the same thing. And you're like, well, I mean, I guess if it's working for you, I don't know if it is, but I mean, if you seem to think it's working, that's one thing. But you've really never like thought about it. I don't know. I guess some people don't feel that need or that calling. And I don't know. I just find it weird.
Yeah. Especially in what you do, right? With comedy, with your art. It's like you always, I feel, at least from our conversations in the past and from some seeing what you do, is that you're always exploring something new, or you're pushing things, you know, intellectually, emotionally, just like finding the surfaces somewhat. I don't know if that makes any sense, and exploring.
Yeah, I do think I like, because when I look back at a lot of my comics, I realize that like this I think is a weak point for my comics, is because I don't necessarily subscribe to any specific like label in terms of politics and things like that, and part of it is because I'm a little shell shocked from like coming from religion, and like I don't like having, here's the program, these are the beliefs that we have. I'd much rather take it on a case by case basis. Which is maybe too weak or nuanced sort of worldview to have, especially for the internet.
You feel like your material is too nuanced for the internet?
No, I think it's too neutered sometimes, because I'm scared of misrepresenting my own understanding of something. Like sometimes I'll look back at some of my comics, especially ones that have a little bit more of a political nature, and I'll cringe a little bit because I feel like, oh, I don't know if I fully understood what I was trying to say. Like I have a sense of values and things that I believe, but I don't have like a clear headed like position that I actually want to say. And that's something I think that's emergent that I'm still working through. Yeah. Well, my favorite things of all time is making a comic where, I mean, the thing is, the nature of doing a comic, especially when it has like a political message in it, and especially if you have characters that are disagreeing with each other, it can't help but be like a straw man puppet show to a certain degree, because that is the nature of the beast. It's very hard to, like, in 4 panels, like, all right, I want to accurately
I was going to say, in 4
present.
panels, what are you going to do?
This is like, come on, what are you going to do? So you do a lot of shorthand. What I found it very funny, like, you could straight up say that, okay, this character is a Nazi, this character committed genocide. And then you'll always get in the comments, like, a lot of people who are like, oh, so anyone you disagree with is a Nazi, or anyone you disagree with committed genocide. I'm like, well, no, this person is a Nazi, or this person supported a genocide, or did this or that. And you're like, this is the rules in this comic.
Yes.
This is a fantasy that I've created. You are now trying to graft real world events onto it in a way that I am not exactly doing. Sure, you can make the parallels, and that is the point. But once you start interacting with the metaphor if you take it too much or too seriously, I feel like you destroy the point of it.
I think I see the problem here is that you look at the comments.
I do. This is the problem. Oh no, it's such a problem for me, because, like, if you get 10 positive comments and then 1 negative one, like, the only thing you hear is the negative one.
So what are you going to do? Are you still doing Barb? Are you going to be doing a whole different comic? What are your plans?
I got, as always, I got 1,000 plans, and we'll see how many of them get done. I actually have been taking a little break from Barb, just because I was taking too much time. The same way, like, I took a break from Blinky and Sal too a long time ago, and then I came back to it, just because I think you do need. And this is to all the cartoonists and artists out there. Like, it's okay to take a break. You can take a break if you need it. But I probably will get back to doing new episodes of Barb. I have a new episode planned for the end of the book that will be in the book. I'll probably put it online before the book comes out. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what's what. But now I'm in the stage of writing new episodes. I haven't started illustrating anything yet, but it's just the idea of, like, how detailed do I want to make the story? Because I think I do want to tell more of a story and less of, like, a one-off thing. Because it did have a couple little story arcs in there, but I think it works better when they can have an adventure that continues episode to episode.
There's more arc.
Yeah.
It depends on the strip, but
It's harder to
traditionally,
write.
anything with barbarians and axes and whatnot does tend to be story arc. Right? Your Hagar the Horribles, your Gru.
I always like to ask people, is there a question you wanted us to ask you, but we didn't get around to? Not about plugs or where people can find you online, but was there a topic you wanted to talk about, but we just didn't get around to?
Just how is it you're able to put pants on with such a big old hog? I don't know. I can't think of a question off the top of my head that's serious.
That's great.
Required some adjustment. That was a side effect of the Pfizer vaccine.
Oh, see, I knew I should have gotten Moderna. It's a gift to give.
Well, dude, thanks for coming on. Where can people find you?
You can find me all over the place. So my name is Jay Burrello. All the comics are under the banner Big Insane Happy. There is a website, biginsanehappy.com. You can find it on Facebook at Big Insane Happy. You can find it on Instagram and Twitter at Big Insane Happy. And also Webtoon is where Barb also gets hosted, and Pathos is where Blinky and Sal is hosted. And it's all over the place. And if you like the sound of the Barbarian comic book, head over to Kickstarter and get yourself a copy, because even though we've reached our goal, it doesn't mean that we're not accepting more orders. So it just means I have a little bit more work to do in a month when I print it.
Fantastic. Well, dude, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.